Bryant. I'm excited for you guys to listen to her today. So we're with Conductor. We are a public-private partnership with the University of Arkansas. We are a no-cost resource to small business owners. A lot of people say that something is free, it's too good to be true, and most of the time that is correct. All we ask entrepreneurs to give back to us when they receive our services is responding to surveys. That's really it. And so you can see in front of you the BRAC cards that give our information where you can find us on social media. Our resources span anywhere from workshops to one-on-one consultations with people that are on the team. We have a subject matter expert network. It's a mouthful called Conductor Connect, and it is a free resource as well with people who have been in our field for a really long time. So this is a lawyer, a CPA, marketing expert. They're kindly devoting their time to us at AIC for a few hours per month. And so that's a resource as well. But we're excited to partner with UCA and Dr. Suter. So thank you guys for having us today. Really appreciate it. And we're located in downtown Conway. Julia is a member of the AIC. So if you have questions, feel free to talk to our team after or ask Julia questions. Our community coordinator, Caitlin Crockett, is here. And Caitlin Fitzpatrick, our operations coordinator, is here. And I'm Mallory Watson, our marketing and outreach manager. It's a co-working space, the AIC downtown Conway. Really affordable for entrepreneurs to work, have meeting space, all the things that stand in the way of being able to launch a business. So we're having this today because we want to bridge the gap between college students that have just an idea, or you have a business plan already, all the way to scaling your business. And so if you have questions for us, we'd love to answer that after this. But we're really excited to be here. Julia Bryant is the CEO, owner of New Haas Marketing Studio. Did I say that right? Okay. She's been with us at the ASC for 10 months. Okay. So she's really seen AIC grown, memberships at Conductor, which is exciting, but she has been an awesome coworker. That's what we call member, and she's really good at what she does, and she's really smart. So we're excited to have her today, and please welcome Julia Bryant.
All right, I don't know if I'm gonna use the microphone just because I'm a hand gesture. Can y'all hear me? Good? Is that okay? Gotta be loud. All right, if you can't hear me, do a little wave. I'll pick the mic back up. But thank you, Valerie and the AIC, for having me today. I am obsessed with them and the business in general. They can't get rid of me. The second I walked in, I was like, you're stuck with me. They even called me an honorary employee. I paid, but I spent it to do the work. But today we are really going to just dive into what I'd like to call the non-marketer's toolkit to social media management. So let's go in. That's me. But before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about myself and how I'm able to have some of the credentials to be up here and explain this to you guys. So I graduated in UCA back in 2019, right before COVID. So that was good that I got out when I did. But did some marketing internships a few years prior to that, graduated, and kind of followed through with those endeavors for a couple of years after that. I think the next 3 years, and kind of juggled a couple different jobs. I really found myself not getting fulfilled in the jobs that I were in, or lacking the opportunity for growth, and constantly feeling myself saying, I could do that better. If you are in that mentality, you know, you might be an entrepreneur, you might want to start your own business. And at the time, I just refused. So I was like, I don't want to start a business. I know I majored in INE, innovation entrepreneurship, but I just don't want to start a business. And I kept going through a couple different jobs and had the pleasure of trying to find a job during COVID, and that was so fun. So during that time, I really kind of was at that peak point where I was like, what do I do right now? I don't have a job that I find a career in. So I went back to school. I was like, I'm going to get my master's degree. I'm going to get an education, figure out what my path is. And took up the first master's marketing class right out of the gate and loved it. And we had a semester-long project actually where we had to provide a report for a small business that they had brought in that was starting. And I presented about a 30-page, very detailed report on how to have your business be online. And at the end of the semester, he actually personally reached out to me and applauded me on the work I did and kind of pulled a freelance job out of it. So he was really the start of my very first freelance position. And I started juggling a couple side jobs while doing these odd end jobs in office managers, marketing, and HR, PR, everything in between. From there, again, not finding exactly what I needed out of these positions. And I was kind of at a crucial point in my life where I was like, if I don't find this in myself and what I need, no one else is going to be able to solve that. So in December of 2022, I quit my job and honed in on the 3 clients that I had as freelance and started my marketing business. And that's kind of where I'm at today is I've grown to about 10 clients already. A lot of it is word of mouth. And that's really how I got the first 3 is that first client referred the other 2 to me. And that shows the power of just communicating with those around you. So a little bit about New Cost Studio. During those endeavors right here, I recognized a very common saying. That's just how it's always been done, Julia. And it drove me crazy. I am a little bit OCD and I love doing things well and doing them right. A little bit of that is majoring in entrepreneurship and recognizing problems and wanting to solve them. And that was really the foundation for what I wanted my business and my mission to be. It was bringing a new creative and new way of thinking to the businesses that we are going to do in the next few generations. So that vocabulary of how that's how it's always been done does not exist in my book. I'm creating a new environment in a new house, which is Haus, it's house in German. Creating that new environment for hopefully futures to come. And finally, the most important thing is what the heck can I get out of this? So you've heard a little bit about me. So what you can hopefully get out of this is some free, if not low cost tools and resources to help propel your social media. And also to provide you some quick tips and tricks along the way that can give you real life insight to these tools that I'm showing you, as well as if you are online, if you're a small business or doing this for a job in your company or company you're working for, that this can validate that you're doing this well, or there may be a few areas you need to pick up on. So let's get started. All right, so managing social media for success. There are 5 key components to what I feel can really get you there with having a successful social media management system. And all of this can be done free, if not relatively low cost, believe it or not. So the first one being having a well-defined brand. So you're going to hear me talk a lot about this. Sorry if I'm annoying, but I will phone on branding a ton. The second is having a strategy. The third is having a management and scheduling system. The fourth is utilizing your analytics and data. Those words will get there. And the fifth is setting goals. Before we get started, I do want to do a fun little activity with you guys. I know this is very simple. I did not make this hard. We're not in class right now, so I made it easy. But I do want to ask you guys, raise your hand if you know over 10 grams on the slide. Yes, I made it easy, so you're welcome. Awesome. Well, I really wanted to do this slide, not because it's simple, but because I selectively pulled icons and logos of brands that have no words, no letters, only visuals, shapes, or colors. And from that alone, you have been able to identify the brand, what they sell, how they sell it, where they sell it at, and more. You know that from a split second. That's powerful, and that's branding. And that's why it's so important to make sure you have this well-defined and really tailored to you to make sure you're being consistent and you're online in a super crowded marketplace that we are in online. So we're gonna get into harnessing the power of your branding and what that looks like. So on this right-hand side, this is actually a brand kit that I have created for a previous client. This is what I like to have as a one-pager, very quick, easy to understand and identify what the brand is and some of the roles in it. I know it's a little hard to see, but I wanted to show you what this can look like all encompassing in just one page. Now, I go a lot more in detail with guidelines and other graphics, but to get them to the point, that's what I'll present. And let's dive into what makes this brand well-rounded. And there's 4 main pillars that I feel like can help make this well-rounded. However, there's a whole lot more you can do to branding than just these, but these can really give you the foundation to having that successful brand. First is being and having a company logo. Obviously, I know y'all are probably rolling your eyes. Yes, Joy, you need a logo. That's branding. Well, not necessarily. My question to you and to your company is, do you have variations of that logo? That means color variations, having white, having black, and having the brand colors. This also means having different formats of that logo. Vertical, stretching it out, having it horizontal, having icons and small pieces of that brand as well. And that's really going to help you with the graphic and design side of the business when you are utilizing this brand. And color scheme. So you can see right here, these are kind of the color schemes that we've decided on, and you can see how I've utilized it throughout the brand kit to really give you that feel for the colors. And with that, I truly recommend 3 to 5 being your max color scheme, because once you start playing with 5 or more colors, you're really going to feel like it's a little cluttered. It's hard to recognize and identify that brand when you're playing with more than 5. So I like to say, think of McDonald's. Think of these very commercialized businesses. They have 1 or 2 colors that are very identifiable and very distinct. That really makes a difference. So hone in on a couple, and if you feel like you need more than 3, have your primary colors and have a couple of secondary colors. And I want to briefly go over color scheme codes. I know some of this, if you're not in graphic design, this might be a little over your head, but I do think it's important to touch on briefly. And the one being the most popular is hex codes. If you don't know what a hex code is, it's these little numbers right here that are a mixture of letters and numbers that identify that exact color scheme and that exact color for your unique brand. It usually starts with a hashtag, and copy those, paste them into Canva, paste them into these common graphic designs. That's usually what they're going to want to see. And briefly mention RGB and CMYK are more for graphic design needs. The only time you need to touch this code is if you're printing. Don't worry about it unless you're printing. Export a CMYK color code if you aren't printing. That's it. That's all I'm going to say on it. You can email me later if you want. But the 3rd and 4th thing are typography and tone. So typography is a fancy word for saying fonts. And this might sound pretty simple, it's a font, but this can actually save you a pretty good bit of time as a designer or a social media manager or entrepreneur. Because once these fonts have been well defined and you have decided this font will be my title, this font will be my subheader, and this font will be my body, you no longer have to search through thousands of fonts to pick what looks best. You know what they have to be, and you're staying consistent, and you're doing it well. So stick with it, keep saving time, I promise. And then the final thing is tone. So this is what I like to call the personality of your brand. This is something that really adds that flair, add that next level, being identifiable in this marketplace. So I said, think Wendy's on Twitter. You all, if you're on Twitter, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Her tone is pure savage. She will cut throat at anyone that comes at her. And I think this has made her pretty iconic and their brand pretty iconic from just fast food. And that's what the tone of your brand is. Let's stick with it throughout. And before I move on, I really want to touch on this bottom part. What if you don't have a brand or you don't have it well defined in a sense? Well, start here. What areas do you not necessarily have defined out that you can add in? And utilize these tools like Canva if you are starting out and can't afford a graphic designer to help you and help define this. Start somewhere. That's better than nothing, and at least it's making you identifiable online. And stick with it. Be consistent. I'm going to have consistency constantly, so stick with it and stay consistent. All right, so along this, I'm going to show some tips and tricks. There are going to be videos that can show you the tools I'm using hands-on. This one's going to be for consistent branding and how you can use that in Canva. Who in here currently uses Canva? Oh, this is one of those hate love graphic designers. You are hated and love it. But it's a great resource for people who can't afford Adobe. That's $50 a month, you know, a couple $100 a year. This is a great way to get started. I will make a note, you do need Canva Pro. And I will say, I'm sorry, but you gotta spend those $13. If you can't afford $13, you gotta stop spending it on coffee. But I didn't start on it. But $13, and this can give you so many more resources than a free version. So this is Canva. And on this left-hand side, you're going to see a brand mark, and that shows that it's a paid feature. You're going to click on that and ignore all the brands that I currently work with or have worked with. These are the ones that I have actually already pre-identified, so I can easily create content as I go. But I want to show you how to create your own brand kit in Canva. So this is going to be an example piece. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like if you wanted to create your own brand. And let's say you forgot what you needed, what I told you earlier. Well, Canva's going to tell you exactly what you need to have that brand. Logos, colors, fonts. And you click on that color, it's going to ask for that hex code again. Copy and paste if you have designed that hex code. Add them in. I do suggest don't pick all of these fonts. I pick about 3. But you can really get detailed with this. And then down at the bottom, you can also include photos, graphics, and icons. And for someone like me who's constantly uploading a ton of content to Canva, it's hard to find it once you want to go back. So utilizing photos and stuff in here, you can easily access when you are designing in Canva and in that graphic. With the click of a button on that right-hand side, you can access all of that information that you just saved. So moving forward, the second one we're going to talk about is creating your strategy. So the biggest thing that I want to hone in on is knowing who to market for, knowing where you need to spend the most time. So the first thing you need to really focus in is analyzing your customer base. This means knowing what content they want to see, what content they're engaging with. You know, how many times are best to post for your social media profiles? You know, this can vary from person to person, business to business. So looking at that and understanding what these people want to see. You know, sometimes what you want to see isn't what they want to see, and that can be hard for social media managers to grasp because you're like, this looks so good, I'm so excited. And there's no engagement. You put this ugly meme out there, and it just gets so much engagement. So it's really looking at what these people are engaging with and utilize that. So the second one is knowing your brand. Guess what? Stay consistent. But no, the content should look similar to your brand. You should know exactly what that content needs to look like. You need to have a vision of this. It'll really help move forward. And well, that's not the vision of the brand. You know, it's stick with that. You know, look at what the competitors are doing. I do this all the time, especially when I onboard a new client. I go to their industry and I ask them what their competitors are, and I creep the crap out of it. I love it. I'm a creeper. I creep all online everywhere. I'm really good at it. But figure out what they're doing. If they're doing something well, how can I replicate this to my brand and my own voice? And if they're not doing something well in their essential stuff, let's jot down what they're not doing good or bad. And we now know that's the area we need to stay away from. And again, know that use of tone and emotion, it can add that extra layer of, you know, having that brand well grounded and well defined. And then finally, this is very controversial topic in the marketing community is paying for ad space and investing money in it or going organic and doing it for free. So with this, I really encourage you guys, if you are in a small business or let's say you are an employee, excuse me, you're an employee who is trying to justify having social media to your boss, you probably don't have a pretty big budget to invest in ad space, and that's okay. You don't have to spend a lot of money to do this well. And that's really what I want to show you guys today. But I do want to tell you about a time that it's good to invest in ad spend. And for me, in my position in this, I really encourage you guys to spend money where it counts. And that's if you have an event and you've honed in on it and pushed it to your following base for 2 weeks, you still have seats that need to be paid and filled. What do? Well, you've exhausted all of your free resources. Now it's time to look into spending money and getting outside of that following base to get new audiences attracted. That's your first step. If you aren't ready to invest money, make sure it's worth it. And before I move on, I just wanted to show you guys really briefly. You're probably like, what the heck is this? This is I cropped a little bit, but it was a 6-month overview strategy for a previous client that I did. She requested that it was easy to understand and easy to access. So this was literally done in the Google Sheet. So you don't have to have a lot of bells and whistles with fancy, expensive technology to do this. You can do this from your own platforms and what you're currently using to be able to do this well. So, time for another quick tip. This one is going to show you the best time to post on Facebook and Instagram. If you are not familiar with the back-end Meta Business Suite, you are today. So, we're going to dive into that and we'll show you how to get to this area. So if you don't know how to get there, you can go to business.facebook.com. It does have to be a business profile, but everyone has one of these. This is the back-end dashboard. This is where I live. So there's going to be a button at the top that says create post. This is going to be where you can actually create a post, and we'll go into that in detail a little bit later. But I want to scroll all the way down. And there's going to be a button right here that says active times. And this button is going to tell you exactly when your audience and your followers are online. So at 6 a.m., 6 p.m., and 6 a.m. on those times, your followers are most active online. And that is different for every profile in every business. And that's really easy, helpful information to be able to be a little bit more successful in getting that engagement as you make and create these posts. So there's a second way you can see that. Go to the planner. And these little highlighted spots are, again, those key audience times. Click on it, create that post, and move forward. So it's not super hard, but a lot of these easy resources, you just get a little intimidated with, and you don't want to mess with it. They're easy and they're accessible to you guys to show you pretty quality analytics. The third thing is scheduling and management tools. This is one of my favorites. And I'm sure you're wondering, why do we need these tools? Social media is very much a, oh, this event happened, let me snap a picture and post it. Well, this is really more traditionally for personal use. And as a business, this isn't really efficient or productive. And usually, something's going to hit the fan. Something crazy is going to happen at work. You took that photo and you forgot to post it because it got crazy. And you realize 3 days later, I didn't take that post and now it's not relevant because it was about this event. Well, if you had honed in on a couple scheduling tools, you would never miss that time. You would never miss being consistent. So why use these tools? Because life gets in the way. So I say, please post ahead, set that date, create that content, and schedule it out. Whether it's for the week or for the month, I prefer month, but whatever works best for your schedule and for your business or job, stick with it and be consistent. It will take so much time off your plate. And why? What are the advantages of this pre-planned content? Well, again, saves you time, I promise. It's a headache for about 2 or 3 days while you prep, and then you can set it and forget it. So it's also going to maintain consistency. It's going to make sure that you're posting. If you have decided, I'm going to post 3 times a week, well, if you pre-schedule that out, you're going to post 3 times a week. It's going to help you be consistent. And while you're posting consistently, it's going to help encourage organic boosting because you're posting consistently. That's going to help boost that algorithm. It wants to see you active. It wants to see you online. And finally, this one's the most important one to me. It allows you to focus in other areas of your job or your business. So this is going to make you a more valuable and a more profitable business owner, employee, whatever it is. And I wanted to list on this right-hand side, well, left-hand, excuse me, free schedulers and project managers that I currently or have used in the past that are very helpful. So jot them down. I'll have a QR code at the end if you want to pull up that platform. Time for another quick tip. So I know I'm weird, sorry. Scheduling in Facebook. So this is going to be a little bit more in detail on how to schedule really easily. Or go right to source where your analytics, where your followers are, and get that valuable information easily post to both Instagram and Facebook at the exact same time. There's the beautiful create post button. It's my favorite. We're going to click on that and we're going to talk a little bit about what all this is. So you're going to drop that down. You can actually click both Instagram and Facebook. I suck and I just did not connect my Instagram yet, but you can have that button that says click to Instagram connect and it'll easily walk you through. So you add your photo, you upload it from your desktop, your phone, whatever, and skim through all the mess and chaos of your computer to find that graphic. And it's going to actually show up what it's going to look like in Facebook and Instagram on this left-hand side. So you get a really good visual for what it's going to look like before you even post it. And it's also going to show you with those captions. And I want to talk really quick about caption creation. And I honestly use ChatGPT a lot for this. It helps speed up my efficiency if I have an idea around what the caption should be, but it's going to take me 2 hours to get it perfect. I with ChatGPT to give it variations of that content and of that caption and be able to pick and choose and find the right one within seconds. And you can see right here, these tags that pop down, you can actually see how many people are using that hashtag and how frequently it's been used. I think it's really important to know, don't use a hashtag that has millions of posts already to it. It's not going to add value to what you're posting. And if it has 0 hashtags and uses, don't use it. You need to find that sweet middle spot. And then you can click schedule or publish. Click those times. If Instagram was connected, it would show the exact same thing. Click them and schedule. So as I'm walking you through this, I hope this makes you feel a little bit more comfortable if you haven't ever touched the back end of Facebook. That it's not super confusing, but it's really a very good free tool for you to use. So I don't want to save this because it's more of a mock-up post, but I want to show you another area where you can create content in. And that's the special planner button. This is going to show you if you had content scheduled out, what that content is for the week right here. And on that left-hand side, that drop-down button can give you other options other than a post. So you can create a reel, a story. You can schedule stories now, which is a newer function. Bulk upload videos, go live, and more. You click on it, and it's going to walk you through that same look. So leveraging analytics. I know we briefly have talked a little bit about, active times, and that is analytics, but I want to go a little bit deeper than that. And for me, it makes me cringe a little. I don't know about you guys, some of y'all may love data and love analytics, and I applaud you, but sometimes it feels overwhelming, especially with some of the newer dashboards. They throw all these fancy numbers and percentages at you that don't always mean a whole lot, especially when you're new. So if you're similar to me, what I recommend starting out is to really focus in the areas that have the best and the most results. And most of that can be found without even entering the back end of Facebook. You can check this all out on your profile. So check and see what engagement people are actually using, talking about, messages, shares, likes. That's the stuff that's really going to give you that real analytics and show you what's working and show you what's not. All right, and I want to hone in on this again. Analytics can help form those strategies, make those strategies so much stronger. You need some of this back-end information where you're shooting that dart at that dartboard, and you're not going to hit it if you're blindfolded. You need that information to tell you how hard you need to throw, what direction you can throw at it, and so forth. So analytics can really give you a lot of that information. And it can also tell you, again, best times to post, how often is most effective. This might sound a little weird. How often to post, like, best makes a difference? It actually makes a huge difference. So social media is a business, and we are the consumer. They want us to stay on as long as possible. So if you're not posting frequently, it's not going to help encourage the algorithm to boost you up. I actually have a client. I consider him an influencer, but he get mad at me when I call him that. But he's got over 100,000 followers, and we have looked at his analytics behind it and have noticed if he does not post every single day, he loses over half of his engagement. And that shows it might not work for you to post every day, but knowing how frequently your followers want to see you active is really important for helping encourage that. Moving right along. And one of the final things is achieving measurable results. And please make it realistic. You have 200 followers? No, you're not going to go viral. That is not a attainable and realistic goal. I'm sorry, but let's make them realistic. And first, figure out what goal are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to make sales? Do you have a product that you need to sell? Do you want to be an industry leader? Or, are you really just here to make sure that you're reliable within your community and your industry? And sometimes that's all you need to be. Because guess what? We're creeping you online as a business. We're looking at you, and we want to make sure you're not spam for your page. So having these presences online really make you valid in your industry and make you feel part of that community. So followers does not always mean sales, unfortunately. I wish it did, but same client that I have earlier who's really popular online. He sells tangible products, and he doesn't sell often. He's got over 100,000 followers, and he doesn't have sales all the time. And that shows you that sales and followers don't always mean the same thing. So if your goal is to make a sale, you shouldn't be paying for clicks and followers and stuff. You need to figure out where that goal is. And I want to make sure that I'm not just setting you up to say, create a goal. It's super easy. It's not. It takes time, and it can kind of suck. But with this, hopefully, I can help you identify what that goal is. I call it a SMART goal. I wish I made this up, but I didn't want to take credit. But a goal should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant in time or of a time frame, 6 months, a year, whatever that time frame is. And use that SMART goal to be able to define what this goal is for you. And the importance of setting clear goals is really how you measure your success and see what's working. This is always going to tell you if it's working. I promise you, if you're not getting engagement, something's not working right. You need to do a little trial and error, and I think that's okay. With social media, trial and error is not a problem. If you're not an influencer, you probably aren't going to be canceled if you posted something controversial. Now, I encourage you, don't do controversial things. It will help you get engagement. People love to argue online. So it can really help encourage that, but if that's not what people don't do. All right. So now that I've talked about all this technical stuff, I wanted to show you the tools. I'm sure most of y'all have maybe be aware of half of these. But I also want to show you that with these 4 tools alone, I'm creating and consistently getting new business and new clients with only this. This is all I'm really using to be consistent with my clients, to post online and to grow their engagement. So y'all can do this. Canva, I encourage Pro. I know it's probably the only one that you're really going to have to invest a little bit if you're not already. They even have a new scheduler where you can schedule content through Canva. I think there's a couple tweaks that need to be improved within the next 6 months, but for the most part, it does the job and it does it pretty well. The Meta Business Suite. This is where I've shown you we get all the analytics, hashtag research, active times, and more. This is getting right up to the front and seeing what's behind that door, seeing what your followers are doing. So I always just prefer going straight to source. And the last 2 things, Buffer. Buffer is where I use to schedule content outside of Facebook and Instagram. I don't want them to buy over more people, but I do wish that we could have more accessibility to scheduling things outside of Facebook, but to use that second platform for LinkedIn, Pinterest, and things that fall outside of Meta. So it's another great free resource. You have 3 accounts that you have and schedule up to, I think, 10 posts before you have to pay for each account. So it's a really great resource to be able to additionally have that scheduling platform. And finally, ChatGPT. I know this is probably the buzzword everyone's tired of, but I really utilize this very consistently with helping with content ideation. We all get roadblocks, especially when you're constantly creating content. It gets old quick. And ChatGPT can really talk you through brainstorming new ideas and topics to post about. Just get the ball in a little bit. It can also help with copywriting and checking grammars. I know y'all are familiar with this. Hopefully you don't use it too much, but use it enough to support what you're doing in your work. That's really what I use ChatGPT for. It's not to replace me, but to really support and make myself more efficient. So I'm going to wrap everything up, but I have contact information if I missed anything. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to reach out to me. I actually do have an internship position available. If anyone's interested, listening to me. And I do want to thank the Arnold Innovation Center and the conductor for literally everything. If you are not connected with this place, really encourage you to. It has changed my business. It is what has caused me to be very, very successful. I've been able to have a community. I'm a solo entrepreneur. It gets lonely. So I now have a community to fall back on. I have free resources to learn and educate. So if you're not familiar and you're not using it as a small business, I really encourage you to check it out and get comfortable. You'll love it and stick with it, and you'll probably never get rid of it. But all right, thanks, guys.
Open up for questions. Does anyone have any questions for Julia regarding any in marketing, entrepreneurship, any of those things?
What do you do with SEO?
So SEO is kind of its own nutshell, and some of that can really go further than just social media alone. I think SEO really falls a lot more in website design and things like that, which is a service that I provide. Now, social media can really help get you searchable online. SEO really is just Google bots scrolling all over the internet to find keywords, figure out how you're ranking, and whether you pay for it. And being online is going to be the first step to boosting your SEO. So having a social media presence can make a big difference. But having a Google My Business profile also, if you don't know what that is, Google it. It's that little box on the side that pops up with the business's information. It's got photos, their website button, it's got reviews. That is a Google My Business. And that helps boost SEO, blog posts on your website. So there's so many areas that can really boost SEO outside or in addition to social media. That gets a little bit.
Yeah.
other questions? You have a graphic design background? So that's a great question, and I actually don't. So I know that sounds weird, but I quickly realized while I was in innovation entrepreneurship, which is what I majored in, that I wanted to connect my major and my minor, which was studio art. And I'm not a Picasso, I'm not here to make money off of paintings, but I knew I wanted to combine those two. And that's really kind of how I felt in marketing. So I don't have the degree, but it also shows that you can learn so much outside of it, but you do still need that technical skill set that can take you and make you more competitive when you're starting out and getting out of college. So you don't need it. A lot can be learned within the industry alone, but yes, I don't know.
So it seems like there's a lot of steps to get to the point where you begin. So what's a good starting point to start brainstorming for a brand?
Start brainstorming a brand. I'm gonna figure out your mission or your vision for the brand. What problem are you trying to solve? What are you trying to empower out people? What is this business going to provide? And usually that can really give you a lot to not only the tone and the personality, but also how the logo should look. You know, if you're doing something, let's say, you're a mental health practitioner who's trying to get online, you probably also want your branding and your colors to reflect what that is. So understand what industry you're in. You can even look on Pinterest and look at inspiration. Graphic designers do it all the time. We love inspo. And so utilize what other people are doing. Figure out, I like this style, I like this style. And start there. Canva has a lot of logos that you can play with. I would be careful if you ever want to copyright or trademark. That's not available with Canva. But it can get you started pretty easily and it can help you stay consistent so you have that opportunity to invest in a graphic designer that can scale that brand for you. But I would just start anywhere. It's going to help you be identifiable online than if you're not doing it. You know, how are you able to do search for if nothing's there? So it might not be the best. It might not be the prettiest that happens to your search for. So don't be scared to just start. You know, it doesn't always have to be perfect. And I'm flawed at it too. I don't even have my website fully finished because I think it's perfect. But sometimes it's better to just have it out there and improve on it than it is to just say, well, can't find you. I promise I'm out there, you know. So I would just encourage you to get started. That's honestly the hardest part of get started. Yes.
Other questions? Do we have any online? Okay. Last call. Oh,
You talk a lot about Facebook and Instagram within this context. Could you give us just a brief overview of sort of who those audiences are? Maybe even throw in a third social media platform and when it comes.
Absolutely. So I think we're all pretty, well, I won't assume, most of us understand the demographic on Facebook. I think a lot of the younger generation is veered away from it the second their moms joined. So that generation is really, it's kind of expanded from what I feel to be 30 to 40-year-olds and up who are really comfortable with Facebook, who are using it as their primary source for social media, who aren't with the times they're staying up with TikTok, Pinterest, and things like that. They're really just sticking with one, sharing way too many photos and sharing with grandkids, you know, and that's fine. We can understand what that audience is like. But there's so many other areas. So Instagram, I think, is one of the most, in my opinion, diverse ranges where I think people that aren't familiar with Facebook have started to slowly integrate to Instagram because of that connection of when they recently got bought out several years ago. So I feel like the demographic in there can be pretty diverse with Instagram alone. I think there's a great range, and that's where analytics really play into understanding what your audience is in that age range and making sure you're targeting to that right demographic. For let's say TikTok, obviously it's the other really large one out there. I think people are starting to adopt this because they're seeing how good are with. So it sounds a little bit crazy, but people are making bank on TikTok and it's scary. But it's actually, I think, the second most searched or search engine online. It is literally considered a search engine. I think it ranks higher than Google. So we're really changing the game for what social media looks like. And we've actually almost completely taken Google out. And we're replacing it with AI, replacing it with TikTok, where we can now search for information in a split second and digest that information in 30 seconds or less. It's crazy. You can literally learn something in 30 seconds or less. Like, that wasn't a thing 5 years ago. So I really think those demographics vary, but it also kind of hard for me to say because it's getting slowly adopted by so many more mass consumers that TikTok is really getting diverse too. I think Facebook is really the biggest one that's kind of dying out with the younger generation. Do any of y'all still actively use Facebook? Couples, so make sure you use. Do y'all use Instagram? A little bit more. And so you're really seeing it's just, I think it's as trends develop and as social media is changing and new ones come around and what those trends are that you're kind of leaving one out to get into another one. So like Snapchat is gone. So I think that's really the biggest understanding the popularity around these social medias and maybe not jumping in immediately, especially as a small business, but understanding if this is going to be a fad or is it going to be actually a new social media to spend time and understand. And that's going to be important as you're in a new job or in a new business to be able to invest that time where it really matters. So I wouldn't just jump straight into, the new popular apps. I know Threads is the new one that's kind of left, kind of dead. But don't always jump into the first one, especially if you have limited resources. And make sure that this time you're spending is worth it.
So, like Google and obviously some people go to find something, Facebook and Instagram are places where people go to. What is the effectiveness of the section of the client that's just because there's kind of different perspectives.
So with a lot of my clients starting out who have little to no online presence, I usually start them on a minimum of Facebook and Instagram because those are the two, other than TikTok, which you have to make videos and most of them don't want to get another camera, so we just. But with Facebook and Instagram, really encourage, especially starting out, to just get a sounding board for your community and for the people who are potentially looking to work with you, especially in the generation we're at where technology is at our fingertips. If we're looking into a business to work with them, to hire them, what are you doing? You're Googling them, you're checking out their socials, you're thoroughly creeping them, and you just want to make sure they're legitimate. You want to understand their values. You want to get a feel for who the people are created. I feel like social media does that a lot better than just Google alone. And it can create that sense of reliability with people who are looking into you, who potentially want to work with you. And so that's my biggest encouragement to clients, especially when you're not getting thousands of new followers. It's guess what? You are now reliable. You're a real person. You can guarantee that through social media to make people gain more trust in your business. And so that's a great place to start. Is just to have a couple of profiles to make sure that you are seen as a legitimate business and person. So if you can do both Google and Facebook, that's awesome. But if you have to start somewhere, I would kind of weigh some pros and cons to where are people going to look at first. Any other questions?
Okay. Thank you so much, Julia. So we have more events like this coming up. So tomorrow at the Arnold Innovation Center, we have small business branding on a budget. So if you're wanting to pretty much expand upon this topic and think about what's next after you get your brand and hone in on that, Jessica Crum, who is the CEO of Silver Lake Design Studio, will be leading that at the AIC tomorrow from 12 to 1. And then our next event here will be next month. I will shoot out an email to everyone that attended today with the registration for that. But Grace Rains, our executive director, will be leading that, and she's doing a workshop on how to start a side hustle. So if you're in that idea phase, or you feel like you have somewhat of a business plan and you're wanting those next steps, maybe you're a college student and you're wanting to start something and you don't want to call yourself officially an entrepreneur yet, and you're just needing those first steps, she's going to talk about that. So yes. When is that? This one? The side hustle, I think it's October 5th. Yeah, and I can send that registration out to you all as well, and Dr. Sue will get that soon. So we would love to see you guys at that as well. You can go onto our website or social media and easily find all of our events as well. We post about those frequently with the registration link. So you guys for coming today and taking the time. Thank you.